G'day all, welcome back to the channel. We're back together again on the internet. What is going on over in the UK, more specifically over the last couple of days in Dublin? It's popping off over there. Let's jump straight in.
Watch as furious Dublin residents chant "Get them out" as they clash with police over the alleged assault by a migrant of a 10-year-old local girl.
You can't blame them, can you? What piece of crap does that? Let alone that's going to stoke a whole lot of stuff, because the UK is basically at its wit's end with the migration and mass migration and culture being diluted due to this mass migration. Throw on top any reason to start rioting in the streets over it. Well, you've got a migrant who has gone and sexually assaulted a child. Reprehensible.
Ireland erupted in anger last night after
They don't fuck around, do they? These Irish, you know, they go hard. That's one thing they know how to do, and that's fight. Get them going. This is what you get. One thing I don't understand is why are they attacking the cops? Is it because the police are attacking or protecting access from the person who's done this and they're trying to get to him? It's not clear.
After locals learned of the alleged sexual assault of the young girl at City West Migrant Hotel in the early hours of Monday by a 26-year-old man. The 10-year-old, believed to be in care, was brought to Dublin as part of a planned recreational visit over the weekend. How she ended up in the migrant hotel has caused widespread concern. The Irish Times reports the suspect arrived in Ireland 6 years ago, but his asylum application was refused in 2024. Despite the migrant being slapped with a deportation order, he remains in Ireland. Standing in court on Monday, he said, "I have nothing to say," before lodging an application for bail.
I wonder if he's in there. I wonder if this is what, this is the angry mob wanting to lynch the dude. And I can see with what's happening here in Australia, you can see like this could be us in 12 to 18 months if, tensions aren't, what's the word, de-escalated. I think UK is really the first cab off the rank to have a full pushback by the population just over what's happening over there.
Around 2,000 people amassed outside the migrant hotel Tuesday night, which saw violent clashes with police. Residents could be heard pleading with officers to have some respect after being accused of injuring an elderly man and pushing a woman.
It looks like the cops are attacking the wrong people here.
Don't push me like that. I'm getting footage. Ah, look at that poor man. He said they're pushing me with... Let me out, will you? That's an old man. You have some respect. Have some respect. You bastard, you have to spray me, you dog.
Rioters set fire to a police van and lobbed projectiles. Amid the chaos, GB News reporter Doogie Beattie and his camera operator were assaulted by officers.
During that time, they attacked us, the media, right in the middle of that, and I've never, ever seen that.
Okay, it's the government coming down on the public. Snuff it out. Snuff it out. It reminds me very much, sorry, a bit of a dry throat there. It reminds me of very similar, obviously a different cause here, but a very similar response to when people were protesting against the COVID pandemic response in Melbourne, Victoria. and you had police out with SWAT team shooting people with tear gas and shooting them with rubber bullets. They've got to snuff out the insurgency before it takes off. And I think that's what's happening here.
Before, but what they've done is they've pushed all the rioters down the road into little side streets here, and right now there's a very tense standoff. And just a few moments ago, the sergeant...
Shouldn't the cops be going for these scumbags who are perpetrating these crimes, not protecting them?
Came forward from behind the riot shields and asked people that wanted to leave, form a line and leave, but he wouldn't let them take their cars with them. And now we have the ridiculous situation, and I don't know if you can just see behind me here, there's a guy that is an immigrant trying to get into the hotel, and the guards won't let him out, and he's now stuck in the same side as the protesters. This police force has lost control of this totally.
Let's talk to GB News' own Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie in Belfast, who was in the thick of the battle. Doogie, tell us more, and are you okay, by the way?
Yes, I'm fine. I've been in the media for over 32 years, and as you can imagine, in Northern Ireland, before the Good Friday Agreement was signed, many's a running battle. I was filming and reporting on at that stage, so it wouldn't be foreign to me to be in amongst this. But really, last night, as you have said before, just before the break, there's an alleged sexual assault took place by a man that is believed to have lived and resided, an immigrant, inside the City West Hotel. And of course, it was a 10-year-old girl that was sexually assaulted, allegedly. And he appeared in court yesterday, and he needed an Arabic translator. Well, that really sparked everything off in the Republic of Ireland last night. I've been covering this for about 36 months. And a protest outside the City West Hotel started to see small clashes and skirmishes at one point, which turned into a full street battle with the Garda Síochána and protesters. Now, bits of pavement and everything else were being ripped up.
Yeah, racist protesters, hey? They're upset that kids are getting raped. How dare they? Anyway, let's move on to the next story today. I think we've sort of got the gist of what's going on here. There's societal outcry, and rightfully so. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to talk about that story, the woman that was accused, actually, you can see her on camera, she's actually done it. I don't know why they can say accused. She's the perpetrator who stabbed the lady a few weeks back in Melbourne. What I found very interesting about this, and what I didn't know, was this was very much kept under wraps by the media. And the only reason this story was able to come out was because I think the lady of origin, she's from, her origin is Japan, and it got out in Japanese social media sites. So it was already out. The cat was out of the bag, so to speak. And so the Australian media got on it. But apparently they were told not to report on it. Make of that what you will.
Stabbing attack in the CBD has exhibited some bizarre courtroom behaviour. Amber Johnston was at the hearing and joins us live now. Amber, this was supposed to be a bail application.
It was, Alicia, but her bid for freedom was dropped unexpectedly this afternoon, and what followed was some very strange and quite disturbing behaviour from the accused attacker. Her name is Lauren Darul, and this is the first time we have seen her since that terrifying CCTV emerged last week at the moment she allegedly knifed a woman in the chest as she walked to work a little bit.
What do you mean allegedly? It's on camera. She did it. No allegedly here. Just the thought that someone could get bail for a crime like this astounds me, that they can actually apply for it. Firing squad done out of society. This person cannot be allowed to be on the street. Someone who can just go up to someone they don't know, unprovoked, and knife them with the intent to cause serious damage. This person could have died. So what, we're going to put people like that back on the street? They don't have any place in society.
Burke Street about 3 weeks ago now. The 32-year-old laughed manically into the camera as she appeared on a video link today. She's been charged with intentionally and recklessly causing injury and committing an indictable offence while on bail. And today we learnt that on the day of the alleged attack, she was also facing upwards of 45 other charges, and that has now been whittled down to 17, including theft and criminal damage. As for the 36-year-old woman at the centre of this terrifying ordeal, she says that she is just relieved that this woman is not back in the community tonight as she faces these very serious allegations, but she will be back at court here next month.
Okay, Amber, thank you.
Horrible situation. Is Melbourne one of the most livable cities out there? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I've got a couple more stories to talk through. But before we start the next half of the show, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who supported the channel. Since I started it up, we've just hit 15,000 subscribers. So once again, really appreciate everyone who likes to tune in and listen to me rant and carry on over the news and other media every day. So cheers, really appreciate it. All right, so we're talking about this story. You probably would have heard about it now. It's a couple of days old by the time you will all see this. There was a gym chain called Derrimut Fitness, and there was a dude in there who was assaulted by people with hammers. So he was working out, obviously targeted. People came and stormed the gym, and it was caught on video. So let's watch this. This is Melbourne, by the way, Oakley in Melbourne.
Cornered by 5 thugs, the victim was repeatedly hit in the head with hammers. A targeted attack at Derrimut Gym in Oakley East. The victim tried to escape by jumping a security barrier, but fell hard.
He ran for his life. He went literally over the fence.
He was bleeding from the back of his head.
He's like fuckwits running around hitting people in the head with hammers. We got machetes, hammers, knives, people stabbing people. Join his absolute basket case. Nothing short of fuckwits, even though, why couldn't they have done that somewhere else? Clearly it was a targeted attack. That doesn't happen to someone for no reason. Just for no reason at all, 2 or 3 guys come and storm him when he's at the gym. Could have just stitched him up somewhere else and not once again get everyday people in a line of fire here.
His lips were busted up. He was bleeding from his mouth. He was bleeding from his nose.
He was ambushed in the car park around 9:20 last night and ran inside to escape before the group stormed in as patrons watched.
There's a lot of recent attacks, including machetes, weapons, so people were a bit scared.
He did scream out to the attackers, like, "Who are you? Who are you?"
George Yornow ran to intervene, but the group was backing off, one filming their victim.
Applied pressure on the back of his head onto the wound.
He was taken to hospital, later discharged as detectives returned today to gather evidence. Fresh drama for the chain of 26 gyms. Last month, high-flying businessman Adrian Portelli flagged he wants to save it from a $15.5 million tax debt, which put it on the brink of collapse. Adrian Portelli told 7 News he's seen video of the attack and he described it as shocking and ridiculous. The billionaire said it's not a good look, but he hopes to clean up ongoing crime around the gym chain if the investment deal goes ahead.
Due to,
All right, good luck with that, Adrian. All right, so we're going to go back onto Melbourne here again. So we got Melbourne businesses fed up with these protests, and now they are pushing for this protesting permit. We need a permit. I don't know what that's going to do. People go, I don't have a permit, therefore I can't cause chaos in the streets like we had this weekend, with the anti-racism fuckwits throwing rocks at people. Good old Melbourne, the nanny state. Victoria, the nanny state. Need a permit for this and ban this and ban that.
Phil, I want to play you, first of all, an exchange between our reporter in Melbourne and the Victorian Premier. And Georgie, our reporter, was asking about your piece in The Age this week. Have a listen.
It's not just about the violence, though. It's about the inconvenience for so many of these businesses that 2 years on, every weekend, there's protesters out there. It's not about stopping people protest. can there not be a way that they can protest somewhere else, that they still have their democratic right to protest, but it's just not impacting the livelihood of so many small business owners?
So I'm going to say one thing here. Fine, protest, whatever. It's annoying as fuck, but you can't stop people from doing it. But when it gets violent, that's when it should be clamped down on. Regardless of who's out there protesting. I'm not saying it's just the left lunatics who are carrying on. Anybody. If you're disrupting people, you should be moved on. It should be cracked down on. Why should people in society have to be inconvenienced by cockheads coming out every weekend to the Melbourne CBD to protest for hours on end, ruin the vibe of the city? People don't want to go and take their families out there, which ultimately also ruins trade, and it's not safe. Why is that all right? Why aren't they having cops in the street, like Dublin there, pushing these protesters out, shooting them with rubber bullets?
As I said before, the data shows us that more and more people are continuing to come into the CBD every weekend. The number of the foot traffic counts that are undertaken by the City of Melbourne and by the Department of Transport shows that foot traffic numbers continues to increase. We are seeing more and more investments made in new hospitality venues in our city. I think
look at all the head nodders. Like, what are these people doing? It's bloody the feminist crew going on here. Look at them all. This one here, she wants to be the next Jacinta Allen. She looks nice. She looks like she'll be fun at a party. Have a look at this. I don't even know why she's the Premier. We didn't even elect her. She was just instated. She does not have the best interest of the wider public who are up in arms about all sorts of things. She just comes out and denies it every single day. It's not safe there. People are getting stabbed and bashed and businesses affected every single weekend. What's going on? Melbourne is not safe.
Herald Sun reported just last week on the significant hundreds of millions of dollars of investments that's coming in, particularly around that top end of Burke and Collins Street precinct.
Phil Dalladakis, you wrote in The Age this week that democracy depends not only on the right to speak, but also on the right to feel safe while others do. You've had enough?
Yeah, so, Kieran, I'm a little bit bemused by the comments by Jacinta. The only thing I can think of is that when she says that foot traffic is up on the weekend, she's including the protesters on a Sunday to make her point. The fact remains that...
I don't even know why you'd want to go to the CBD. I'm there most days of the week. I have to go there to earn money, to pay the man, to pay the tax man, to survive. The place is a shell of what it used to be. You got people walking around with mental illnesses, the downtrodden of society who become schizophrenic and they might turn to drugs and become unpredictable and at times dangerous. You got a lot of homelessness. People lying on sleeping bags out the front of 7-Eleven and other places. You got a lot of violent, angry people out there. I've seen it even just yesterday. There was one of those guys at Flinders Street Station. The public transport for Victoria, the ones that they ping people. They fine them for not having their ticket or whatever. There's some dude there, tats all over his face, just giving it to this bloke who looks like he wouldn't even be able to defend himself. A lot of angry people out there. Even on the train line. Various different train lines. You get all sorts on there. I don't know what they're talking about, most livable city. Maybe the marketing's good to make it the most livable city. I couldn't see it being that in 2025, but hey, we just saw what was happening in Dublin, so maybe Melbourne's slightly better than that at the moment.
The major tenet of both my piece yesterday in The Age, but also I wrote about this 12 months ago in the AFR, and nothing's changed, which is why I wrote about it again, is the simple fact is, why is somebody's right to protest given a greater right than my right to walk the streets safely, a worker's right to earn an income?
What a waste of money. And what a waste of space. As I said, I know I'm swearing a bit in this, so I just get annoyed when I watch this stuff, but that, a complete fuckwit of a person that's costing us as taxpayers money with bloody 7 cops trying to restrain her and throw her in the back of a dibby van. For what purpose? To go and protest something they got no skin in the game on. They just want to be anti-fascist, whatever that means. Isn't fascism, isn't that when people can't speak their mind and when they're come down upon for having a difference of opinion? It looks like that's what these nutcases are doing. So doesn't it make them the fascists?
And not have his or her employment withdrawn or reduced, or the right of somebody else to walk about the street and feel safe without being threatened, intimidated, or abused. And we've got countless examples of businesses in the CBD being damaged and staff being terrorised by people who are theoretically, supposedly meant to be peacefully protesting. There's nothing peaceful about it, and it's now time for us to look at different ways for people to express their protest move.
Well, no. Let's be really clear, Philip, about who that is. Majority of the people who are coming out and doing the walks and protests, which there have only been about 2 or 3 of, ever, the March for Australia protesters, they are not causing any issues. They are actually being applauded by the police for following the rules and instructions of the police. You got the other group of fuckwits who come in every day, even on the weekends, all falling under this Freedom for Palestine banner. But you got all these silo satellite causes that are clinging onto it, using it as a platform. If people can't see that's what's happening, then critical thinking goes out the window. You got Aboriginal groups, you got LGBT plus all latching onto Palestine, amongst others. What do Aboriginals have to do with the Palestine movement? What does LGBT plus movement have to do with Palestine? In Palestine, they'll probably bash you for being gay, or worse, throw you off a building for being gay or transgendered. Yet you go there in solidarity to protest for Palestine. It makes no sense for me. Those people will look at you like you're a subhuman. You are not human. You're a piece of shit to them. But you're going to come out? Makes no sense to me. It's just people who want attention, I think, and they just latch onto the cause.
Movements without impacting or impinging on other people.
And we've seen the police injured recently as well. And you're calling for the thing you want to see is a permit system, a CBD protest permit system and zone for where the protests will be allowed to take place, that it's not just free rein and shutting down the city.
Yeah, so there are a number of ways that you can do this, again, that I think demonstrate respect for all people concerned. Fitzroy Gardens, for those people that know Victoria well, is a significant and huge area. The Treasury Gardens near the Premier's office at One Treasury Place is a significant size as well. You've got Flagstaff Gardens, and then you've got gardens opposite the Arts Centre. All of these places are very close to both bus, rail and tram public transport, but you can also do it in a...
Yeah, but dude, you don't understand. They don't want to go and stand in a park together and sing Kumbaya. They want to go into society and they want to cause drama. They want to cause disruption. They want to be violent. They want to send a message. They can't do that if no one's looking at them, if they're standing in a park somewhere. That's why they won't do that. Look at that. It's Free Palestine. You got the Aboriginal flag. Yep, good on you. All right, anyway, let's move on to the final story.
Now look, as a Victorian born and bred and someone now who lives in the inner city of Melbourne, it's hard not to despair over a state that's both broke and broken. Every night at the moment, I seem to sit here and bring you yet another horror crime story, followed up with some commentary from the Premier that she says Melbourne's safe, when no one believes a word she says anymore, given what's happening in their homes and in their suburbs. Victoria used to be the industrial heartland of Australia, with big businesses headquartered here in Melbourne and coal-fired power out of the Latrobe Valley helping to make the state an economic locomotive.
Yeah, now we've got net zero, mostly based here in Victoria, rural Victoria. Disaffecting farmers, and people who've had their livelihoods turned upside down to make way for these huge transmission power lines and other renewable energy infrastructures. Going to drive up the cost, already is, but driving up the cost of electricity. Businesses don't want to invest here. It's too expensive to run.
Australia forward. We had restaurants to rival international cities and tree-lined streets that had retained much of the agricultural past, making Melbourne usually in the top 1, 2 or 3 of the world's most livable cities. Well, now enterprise is fleeing Victoria. The only booming business is the bureaucracy, but most of the bureaucrats now work from home, so the Melbourne CBD is dying. Crime, as you know, is out of control, and the budget's so deeply in debt that the rest of the country might soon have to bail out Victoria. Perhaps most dispiriting of all is the fact that the poor performance of the Labor government is only exceeded by the ineffectualness of the Liberal opposition. Yet because Victoria...
Yeah, whatever happened to Liberal? Like, they've gone completely off the radar, blown up since that magnificent loss at this year's election. Implosion. So Labor doesn't have any real competition or stiff competition. That's why they'll get in again and again and again. People keep voting for him even though our world's going absolute shit here. Would it be any better under Liberal? Who knows? But it definitely, I think Albanese and his crew definitely haven't lived up to their promises, that's for sure.
Has become the template for Labor governments everywhere. The prospect for the Victorianisation of Australia, as James Patterson warned last week, well, that's terrifyingly real. This means higher taxes, more regulation, the triumph of climate and identity politics, economic decline and social fragmentation. Because a Labor Party that's good at politics but hopeless at government is opposed here in Melbourne and now in Canberra too by a Liberal national opposition that doesn't know what it believes in and won't argue the case. The statistics tell a bleak story. In the year to June, there are nearly 500,000 criminal incidents recorded by Victoria Police in Victoria. That's up nearly...
Have a look at that. Criminal incidents. Up 18.3%. Car theft, 42%. Retail theft, just under 30%. Gone to the dogs. Yeah, it's safe. Yeah, it's safe here. No worries. Best city in the world. Don't worry about what you see on the news. That's just fake news.
20% on a year earlier. Major retailers recently wrote to the Premier, citing a near 30% surge in retail crimes. In the year to June, motor theft is up 42%, and aggravated burglaries linked to car theft are reportedly up 220%.
Yeah, I wonder who's doing that. G-Man, you're racist.
Over the past 5 years. As well, business insolvencies in Victoria are up 34% year on year. Victoria's unemployment is the worst in the nation, despite the public service hiring spree, and job ads are down 16% year on year. $150 billion in debt. Victoria's net debt is now the highest of any state.
Have a look at that. Look at that. It's not looking good for us, is it, fellow Victorians? So we're going to be going further into net debt by a quantum of 10 to 15 billion dollars every year. Look at that. That's incredible. So we're going to have, by FY29, $194 billion of debt. That's never getting paid off. How do we get back into a surplus? Like, how does that happen? But we need suburban rail loops. We need all this renewable infrastructure for net zero and pushing that agenda. That costs hundreds of billions of dollars. The renewable energy, the estimate there, and I'll say this is probably a low conservative estimate, it's about $140 billion. $140 billion. I reckon it'd be a lot more than that. You got suburban rail loop, which is billions of dollars a year for a train service that no one really wants. They should just do a train to the airport, but that won't happen because the airport will then lose its parking revenue because a lot of people then won't go and park there, or so they think. They won't be able to charge extortionate prices for car parks. That's why there isn't a Melbourne Airport rail. Skybus and the Melbourne Airport, they have more or less lobbied against it.
And it's increased more than sixfold from just 22 billion when the current Labor government and Dan Andrews first took office.
Good old Danny.
Since 2014, Labor's added or increased some 50 taxes or charges. And while the Victorian government is by far the most green left in Australia, every Labor government is following Victoria's lead in pandering to woke causes and piling further restrictions on business, particularly over climate. In Victoria, gas extraction is actually now banned in the state's constitution, and its emissions reduction target is the highest in the country. It's an utterly unachievable 80% by 2035.
Joint's absolutely basket case, isn't it? It's going to create upward pressure on the cost of living continuously. If there's going to be all this heavy investment, because there is all that heavy investment being made by the government in using our money for renewable energies, for net zero, which we didn't ask for, it's going to push the price of many things up. It isn't just the electricity itself. The electricity increase is going to have push-throughs to all areas of business because all businesses need electricity to run. They've got higher electricity costs, all your products across the board, up they go. They're not going to wear that. The consumer wears that. We all pay for that. Basket case.
And just wait until the new Aboriginal treaty is rammed through the parliament and all the reparation billions start to flow, even though the federal voice was rejected almost 55% by Victorians. What's happened here is that the decline of Victoria has been expedited by an opposition that's either been Labor light or totally ineffective in mounting a successful campaign. Now, at the last election under two-time loser Matthew Guy, even after 2 years of the world's longest lockdowns, the Victorian Liberals went backwards. And while Brad Batten, the current state leader's finally creating a bit of a contest with Labor around crime and policing, he's still subject to internal undermining, even though nothing would more surely doom Victorians to another term of Labor than yet another Liberal leadership coup. Worryingly, much of the same intellectual confusion and political dithering is now rampant within the coalition federally. It should be obvious from the election results in 2022 and 2025 that Me Tooing Labor on net zero has been politically disastrous. For all the talk that would win them seats, in fact, they've gone backwards. It hasn't won them seats on the left, and now with even Conservative voters turning away from the coalition, the real fear is that it'll get worse. So if you think federally for the Liberals that this is rock bottom, think again. Unless they start listening to their supporters, they will continue to fall.
Yep. Anyway, I'm not a Liberal person. I really don't give a shit about politics with who people vote for, but I don't like what's going on at the moment. I'm not saying Liberal will do a better job, but as I said, there's no good competition out there at the moment. I mean, Suzanne Ley is running the joint, and she doesn't come across at face value as a strong leader. I'm not saying that because she's a woman. She just does not come across that way. All right. See you all. If you made it to the end, really appreciate it. Put in the comments if you made it and listen to me rant for half an hour. Cheers.